Have you ever felt a quiet signal pulsing beneath the noise of ordinary life? A subtle invitation that seems to whisper, there is more to you than you can imagine. Right now, as these words find you, something rare is happening. Not next year, not tomorrow, now. Your future self, the version of you who has already stepped beyond every limitation, is reaching across the invisible fabric of time to get your attention. For years you were told that growth must be slow. That wisdom is earned only after decades of effort. But what if that story was never true? What if the wiser, freer, fully evolved you is not waiting at the end of a long road, but is standing beside you in this very moment, ready to hand you the clarity you have been searching for? Think about those sudden flashes of knowing that arrive out of nowhere. The insight that solves a problem before you even finish asking the question. The dream that feels more like a memory than imagination. These moments are not coincidences. They are messages from the self who already lives beyond struggle. And this moment, this breath, is a doorway. Step through it, and years of effort can collapse into a single instant of recognition. Stay asleep, and the path stretches endlessly ahead. Before we continue, I want you to make a simple commitment that tells the universe you are ready. Leave a comment right now with the words, "I am ready for my quantum leap." Write it, even if your hands tremble. Declare it, so your own future self can hear the echo. Then, subscribe to this channel so you remain inside the field of this conversation. Not for numbers, not for an algorithm, for you. Because every time you return, you strengthen the signal between the self you know and the self who already remembers. As you listen, stay open. Feel the subtle recognition rising in your chest. The sense that this is not a new idea, but an ancient truth returning home. In a heartbeat, we are going to explore why the belief in slow, linear growth has kept you small, and how dissolving that belief sets you free to meet the limitless version of yourself that is already alive. Already wise, already waiting. Take a breath, comment, subscribe, and prepare, because what comes next will shatter the old idea of time itself. For as long as you can remember, the world has told you a single story about progress. That life unfolds like a staircase. Each step a small reward for long hours of effort. Each success hard-earned after years of discipline. From childhood classrooms to workplace slogans, you have heard it repeated. Be patient, work harder, wait your turn. At first it sounds sensible. After all, plants take seasons to grow, mountains take millennia to rise, and human beings seem to change only after long struggles. But what if this careful, incremental path is not a law of nature at all? What if it is only a habit of thought, a mental program running quietly in the background of your life? Imagine that time itself is not a single line stretching from birth to death, but a vast field of simultaneous moments. In that field, every version of you that will ever exist is alive right now. The you who already speaks with unshakable confidence. The you who has already healed the deepest wound. The you who wakes each morning with effortless clarity. They are not waiting in a distant future. They are standing beside you in another frequency as close as your own breath. The sense of distance is an illusion created by linear thinking, just as a spinning fan looks like a solid disc, even though each blade is separate and distinct. When you begin to grasp this, a quiet shock ripples through the mind. The endless climb toward improvement, one goal, one degree, one promotion at a time, was never a requirement of reality. It was only the story you were taught to believe. The slow climb kept you safe because it kept you distracted. It told you that wisdom was somewhere out there, that you had to wait until tomorrow to touch what already lives in you today. Look back on your own life and you will find evidence hiding in plain sight. Remember the sudden insight that solved a problem before you even finished asking the question. The dream that arrived like a map guiding you through a decision you had been wrestling with for months. The instant when grief turned into calm without a single reason you could name. Those were not lucky breaks. They were transmissions, direct communication from the self that has already walked every path you now face. Quantum physics hints at this reality. Experiments show that particles can influence each other instantly across vast distances, that the observer and the observed are woven together in ways our everyday logic cannot explain. Consciousness, too, is not bound to a single point on a timeline. It can stretch, connect, and converse across what we call past and future. Your sudden intuitions are proof. They are whispers from the dimension where all of your possibilities coexist. When you see through the myth of slow growth, a different kind of confidence begins to rise. You stop measuring your worth by hours logged or struggles endured. You stop chasing the next credential or the next approval. Instead, you learn to recognize the subtle frequency of your future self, the calm, steady signal beneath the noise. That recognition, not effort, is what collapses years of delay into a single moment of transformation. This is not a call to abandon action or responsibility. It is an invitation to act from a deeper knowing. From this perspective, you do not climb a ladder to success. You align with the version of you who is already successful and let their wisdom guide your steps. Decisions that once felt heavy become light. Opportunities that once seemed accidental begin to arrive with perfect timing because you are no longer trying to create the path. You are walking the path that already exists. Picture the relief of living this way. No more endless self-improvement plans that begin every January and fade by spring. No more grinding through tasks just to prove you deserve the life you secretly long for. Instead, each day becomes a conversation with your own mastery. Each breath is an open channel to the intelligence that has already solved the puzzle. Growth stops being a climb and becomes a remembering. Right now, as you read these words, the signal of that remembering is already vibrating inside you. It might feel like a quiet warmth in the chest, a sudden stillness in the mind, or a single thought rising like dawn. I am not behind. I am already whole. Stay with that feeling. It is the first crack in the old story, the proof that the myth of slow growth was never yours to carry. From this recognition, everything you once hoped to become is already present, waiting only for your awareness to catch up. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the most luminous version of you that you can imagine, a presence both unmistakably familiar and astonishingly elevated. This is not a fantasy or a wishful projection. It is the you who has already dissolved every obstacle, the you who walks in quiet mastery, the you who remembers what your current mind has only begun to glimpse. Meeting this evolved self is not about leaving your body or escaping reality. It is about softening the boundaries of time until recognition flows in like light through an open window. For many, the first hint arrives as a whisper of intuition. Perhaps it comes in a dream so vivid it lingers long after waking, or in a sudden knowing during a moment of crisis when you act with a clarity you cannot explain. Some describe it as a gentle pressure behind the heart, others as a voice that carries no sound but unmistakable authority. However it appears, the signature is always the same. The wisdom arrives whole, without debate, and it feels like coming home. This meeting is not a rare privilege reserved for mystics. It is the natural dialogue of consciousness across timelines. Quantum research calls it non-local correlation. Spiritual traditions call it the higher self, but names do not matter. What matters is the direct experience. The moment when you realize the guidance you have been seeking is already within you, transmitting from a dimension where your evolution is complete. When I first touched this reality, it startled me. I was sitting in meditation, simply breathing, when an image emerged, my own face, but radiant, eyes alive with a depth I had never seen. There was no speech, yet entire paragraphs of understanding unfolded in an instant. Specific insights about choices I was struggling with appeared like pages already written. Where to move, what project to pursue, which relationship to release. I knew these truths were not coming from imagination because they carried a precision and calm that ordinary thought never achieves. In the weeks that followed, the encounters continued, sometimes in quiet moments between waking and sleep, sometimes while I was washing dishes or walking through a crowded street. Different versions of me appeared, a future self fluent in creativity, another embodying profound physical vitality, another radiating serenity beyond words. Each meeting delivered exact guidance, practical, compassionate, undeniable. It felt less like learning and more like remembering instructions I had once known and forgotten. You may already recognize echoes of this in your own life. Think of a time when you answered someone's question with a wisdom that surprised even you. when the perfect words seem to speak themselves through your mouth. Recall the moments when you narrowly avoided danger without conscious planning, or when a sudden decision changed everything for the better. Those were glimpses of the encounter. They were not coincidences. They were communications. To deepen this connection, you do not force or chase. Effort creates noise that drowns the signal.
Instead, you cultivate a still, receptive state, a coherent presence where thought and breath move as one.
Imagine a pond at dawn. Only when the surface is calm can the sky reflect perfectly. Your mind is that pond. When it settles, your evolved self can appear with crystal clarity, and here lies a profound liberation. The guidance you receive will often contradict logic. Your higher timeline does not waste energy fixing problems. It moves you to a reality where the problem never existed. You may feel nudged to take a leap that defies reason, or to release a plan you once considered essential. Trust these impulses. They are not recklessness. They are precision from beyond linear time. This encounter is not about becoming someone new. It is the recognition that you are already a vast, multi-temporal being. The self you meet is not separate. It is the totality of you shining through the thin veil of ordinary awareness. And every time you open to it, every dream, every intuitive flash, you strengthen the bridge between timelines until the guidance becomes continuous, like a quiet river beneath all your days. Stay with this idea as we move forward, because the next revelation will change how you see not only yourself, but the very structure of reality. We are approaching a moment when these parallel versions converge, a rare cosmic alignment where evolution does not crawl, it leaps. There are rare moments in the vast rhythm of existence when the invisible architecture of time bends closer to itself. Moments when the past, present, and future overlap like concentric ripples on a single pond. Ancient traditions spoke of them as portals. Modern researchers call them timeline convergence. Whatever the name, these intervals are real and powerful. And one of them is opening now. Imagine every possibility of your life as a luminous thread stretching across an infinite field. Most days those threads remain distinct, each one a separate potential. But occasionally, through forces both cosmic and intimate, the threads draw together. In that alignment, energy flows with astonishing speed. Events that might have taken decades to unfold can reorganize in days, even hours. To the ordinary mind, this feels like sudden luck. A chance meeting that transforms your career, an unexpected insight that heals a long-held wound, an opportunity that arrives with uncanny timing. Yet nothing about it is chance. It is the natural acceleration that occurs when multiple versions of you resonate at the same frequency and begin to share information freely. Scientists, observing subatomic particles, have witnessed a hint of this phenomenon. Two particles separated by miles influence each other instantaneously, as if distance does not exist. Consciousness operates in a similar way. When your awareness steadies and expands, it starts to behave like those particles, untethered by linear time, able to communicate across what appears to be distance. This is why synchronicities multiply during a convergence window. Your thoughts, choices, and future outcomes are no longer separated by the slow march of hours. They vibrate together, collapsing into a single living moment. You may already sense that something unusual is stirring. Perhaps dreams feel sharper, filled with symbols that refuse to fade. Perhaps you notice repeating numbers on clocks, chance encounters that lead to immediate breakthroughs, or a sudden clarity about relationships and goals that once felt tangled. These are not coincidences. They are signals that the field of possibility around you is tightening into coherence. Your future self, already aware of this window, is sending guidance in every form it can, through intuition, through sudden inspiration, even through the words you are reading right now. The invitation is simple but profound. Remain awake. A convergence is not something you catch by force. It is something you allow. The door does not respond to frantic knocking. It opens to stillness and recognition. Spend quiet time each day noticing the subtle rhythm beneath ordinary thoughts. Breathe without rushing. Let your attention settle until you feel the quiet hum beneath the noise of the world. In that state, insights arrive whole and immediate, like messages delivered in a language older than words. As you accept these transmissions, you will feel a gentle urgency, an awareness that certain decisions can no longer be postponed. Do not mistake this for anxiety. It is the pulse of your wider self guiding you to a line before the window narrows. Follow the nudge to call a friend, to begin the project you have delayed, to release what no longer serves. During convergence, the smallest step in resonance with your higher timeline can redirect the course of your entire life. Understand, too, that this opening is not merely personal. When many individuals awaken in the same period, their combined coherence amplifies the field for everyone. Each person who recognizes the signal strengthens it for the next, creating a chain reaction of clarity. This is why movements of sudden cultural creativity and spiritual awakening often appear in clusters. It is not random. It is collective convergence. Right now, as you absorb these words, the threads of your existence are closer than they have ever been. Every version of you, the healer, the creator, the fearless traveler, stands within reach. The question is not whether the window will open. It already has. The question is whether you will remain present enough to walk through it. Pause for a breath and sense the quiet invitation beneath these lines. This is your moment to stop treating time as an obstacle and start treating it as a companion. The next heartbeat can carry you across what once felt like decades. Stay with this awareness, because in the next chapter, we will explore the very science of time itself, why it bends, how it dissolves, and how your consciousness is already free of its limits. We have spoken of convergence and the meeting of parallel selves, but to truly inhabit this truth, we must venture into the strange landscape where physics and consciousness intersect. Here the ordinary clock loses its authority. Seconds, minutes, and years are conveniences of measurement, not the fundamental fabric of reality. Time, as you have been taught to see it, is more like a language than a law. A way the mind organizes experience so the story of life can unfold in sequence. Yet beyond the mind's need for order, reality is a seamless expanse, where past and future are currents in the same eternal sea. Modern physics has been hinting at this for more than a century. Albert Einstein shattered the old certainty when he showed that time is not absolute but relative, stretching and contracting depending on speed and gravity. A clock racing through space at near-light velocity ticks more slowly than one at rest. Astronauts traveling at incredible speeds age differently than those who remain on Earth. In other words, time bends. It flows like a river that narrows and widens, quickens and slows, depending on perspective. Quantum mechanics takes the mystery even further. Subatomic particles separated by unimaginable distances have been observed to influence one another instantly, a phenomenon known as entanglement. No signal travels between them. The connection simply is. In this realm, space and time are not barriers but a single fluid whole. When one particle knows something, its partner knows it simultaneously, as if both exist in a shared now that transcends distance. If the smallest building blocks of reality behave this way, why would consciousness, an even subtler field, be bound to a rigid timeline? Now bring consciousness into the equation. Studies of what researchers call presentiment, or non-local awareness, reveal that the human heart and brain often register events before they occur in linear time. Subtle physiological shifts, tiny changes in heartbeat, microcurrents in the skin, can appear seconds before a truly random stimulus. The implication is staggering. Awareness is not merely reacting to events, but participating in them across what we call past and future. Think of memory. When you recall a childhood moment, that event is not replaying in some distant archive. It is lighting up neural patterns in the present. The past lives now as a living constellation of perception. Anticipation of the future is no different. Every imagined tomorrow sparks real activity in your nervous system today. Past and future are therefore not locations you travel to. They are currents of information arising in the only place experience ever happens, the eternal present. This understanding dissolves the old myth of linear progress. If every version of you exists simultaneously in this timeless field, then growth is not a march from ignorance to wisdom, but a shift of resonance. You are not trudging toward enlightenment. You are tuning your awareness to the frequency where enlightenment is already normal. That is why guidance from your future self can reach you now. It does not need to travel across years. It simply vibrates through the same timeless medium in which all selves coexist. You have already felt this in flashes. The sudden insight that saves you from danger. The creative idea that arrives complete in a single breath. The feeling of déjà vu that whispers you have stood in this exact place before. Each is a ripple from the wider field. These moments are not supernatural exceptions. They are glimpses of how reality always operates when the mind grows quiet enough to notice. To live from this awareness, cultivate a new relationship with the present. The goal is not to freeze time, but to become porous to it. Begin by observing thoughts as they arise and dissolve like waves on a shore. Notice how memories and plans appear and vanish within the same luminous now. With practice, you will sense that the present is not a thin slice between past and future, but a vast ocean containing them both. From this vantage, healing the past and shaping the future are no longer separate acts. When you revisit a painful memory with compassion, you are not merely thinking about an old event. You are literally transforming its energetic imprint in real time. When you envision a joyful future with clarity and trust, you are not fantasizing. You are selecting a probability and feeding it with awareness. The mind may insist this is impossible, but your lived experience will begin to confirm otherwise. Old wounds lose their charge. New opportunities arrive with astonishing precision. Imagine how this changes the way you move through the world. Decisions stop feeling like guesses and start to feel like recognition. You no longer ask, will this work out? But rather, which version of me is already living the outcome I desire? From that question flows an unexpected confidence. You act not from hope or fear, but from resonance with the timeline where the path is already clear. This is the science of time beyond time, consciousness as the constant, experience as a fluid dance, and the self as a multi-temporal being already connected to every outcome. Accept this, and the boundary between today and tomorrow begins to soften. You stop chasing progress and start embodying it. You become less a traveler along a line and more a luminous point through which all timelines meet. Take a slow breath and let this idea settle. If it stirs something in you, if a quiet recognition is awakening, pause and comment below with the words, "I live in the eternal now." Write it as a simple declaration, not for me, but as a signal to your own future self that you are ready to remember. Hold that awareness, because in the next chapter we will move from understanding to practice, discovering how to stabilize this timeless state through temporal coherence, so that wisdom from every version of you can flow continuously, clearly, and without limit. Understanding the science of timelessness is only the beginning. To live it, you must learn to hold your awareness in a way that allows the wisdom of every version of you, past, present, and future, to flow without distortion. This is the art of temporal coherence, the ability to remain anchored in the eternal now while opening to guidance from every timeline that belongs to you. Think of temporal coherence as tuning a musical instrument. When a guitar string is even slightly out of tune, it produces noise that distorts the song. In the same way, when your awareness is scattered, pulled toward regrets of the past or anxieties about the future, the signal from your higher self becomes faint, broken, or lost in static. To receive clear transmission, your consciousness must vibrate in harmony with its own deeper rhythm. The first step is anchoring the present. Begin with the simplest practice, noticing your breath. Breathe in through the nose, slow and deep, counting to 4. Pause for a heartbeat. Exhale to the same count of 4. With every cycle, allow thoughts of yesterday and tomorrow to drift past like clouds across a wide blue sky. Do not chase them. Do not resist them. Observe them as movements in the same vast awareness that holds this moment. Next, expand the field of attention beyond breath. Listen for the subtleties of your environment, the hum of distant traffic, the soft crackle of air in the room, the quiet pulse of your own heartbeat. Let each sound appear and vanish without clinging. This simple listening begins to weave your senses into a single, coherent presence. You are no longer a mind locked in memories. You are the living awareness in which memories and sensations arise. As you stabilize in this state, something extraordinary begins to happen. Insights arrive whole, as if dropped into the still pond of your consciousness. They do not demand analysis. They simply appear, clear, direct, and strangely authoritative. These moments are transmissions from your future self, guidance from timelines where every decision has already been lived. The more you practice, the more frequent and unmistakable these transmissions become. To strengthen the channel, cultivate emotional coherence. The heart is more than a pump. It is a powerful electromagnetic generator that influences the entire nervous system. Research shows that when you focus on feelings of gratitude, compassion, or quiet joy, your heart rhythm shifts into a smooth, harmonious pattern. This pattern synchronizes brainwaves, calming the mind and amplifying intuitive capacity. A few minutes of heartfelt appreciation each day creates the perfect internal environment for timeline communication. Another key is integrated movement. Gentle walking meditations, slow stretching, even mindful daily tasks like washing dishes can serve as grounding rituals. As your body moves with awareness, you learn to remain present within motion. Life no longer pulls you out of coherence. It becomes the practice itself. Remember, temporal coherence is not about suppressing thought or forcing silence. It is about recognizing that every thought, memory of yesterday, vision of tomorrow, is already happening now. When you allow these currents to flow without attachment, you step into the spacious awareness where all timelines meet. From here, you can feel the guidance of your future self as naturally as you feel the warmth of the sun. Over time, this practice transforms the way you live. Decisions once clouded by fear become effortless. Creativity flows as if from a higher reservoir. Relationships soften and deepen because you respond from wisdom, not reactivity. Even the body reflects the change. Stress hormones decline, sleep becomes restorative, and energy stabilizes. You are no longer a mind chasing moments. You are the calm center through which moments move. Pause here and sense the subtle shift already taking place within you. Perhaps there is a gentle warmth in your chest, a quiet clarity in the mind, or a sudden awareness of space around every thought. These are signs that temporal coherence is beginning. If you feel that resonance, if you sense the doorway opening, mark it with a simple declaration. Comment below with the words, "I am present and open." Let it be a small but powerful act of alignment, a signal to your future self that you are ready to live from the eternal now. Carry this practice with you as we move forward, because in the next chapter, we will explore how this coherence awakens a natural expansion into every area of life: creativity, health, relationships, and abundance, revealing how effortless reality becomes when you live as a multi-temporal being. When temporal coherence becomes your steady state, the transformation does not remain confined to quiet moments of meditation. It ripples outward into every corner of your life. Your creativity ignites, your body begins to heal and strengthen. Your relationships evolve with startling grace, and abundance flows with a sense of timing that feels almost impossible to explain. This is not coincidence. It is the natural expansion of consciousness when you are no longer bound by linear time. Creativity without effort. In the ordinary mindset, creative breakthroughs are rare rewards for long hours of practice and struggle. But once you live in temporal coherence, ideas arrive fully formed, like gifts from the air. Writers describe entire paragraphs appearing in a single flash. Musicians hear complete melodies the instant they touch an instrument. Innovators see solutions that bypass years of trial and error. What feels like sudden genius is, in truth, the merging of your awareness with timelines where these creations already exist. You are not imagining possibilities. You are receiving them from the version of yourself who has already mastered the craft. To experience this, you do not have to force inspiration. You simply remain receptive. Walk in nature and notice how the sound of wind blends with your heartbeat. Sit quietly with a question and allow the answer to rise like dawn. The more you trust the process, the more the boundary between thinking and receiving dissolves. Soon, creativity stops being an act of effort and becomes a continuous dialogue with your future self. Vitality and the body's hidden intelligence. Your physical health, too, responds to this expanded awareness. The body is not a machine that passively ages. It is a dynamic field of energy and information capable of remarkable self-repair. When you align with timelines where perfect health is natural, subtle guidance emerges, an inner knowing of what foods to choose, when to rest, how to move. Old habits of tension and stress begin to release, and the nervous system recalibrates toward balance. Scientific studies support this mystery. People who practice deep states of presence show lower stress hormones, stronger immune response, and faster healing from injury. But beyond data, the lived experience is unmistakable. Sleep deepens, energy steadies. You may even feel a quiet joy humming in your cells, as though your body remembers a blueprint of vitality you had forgotten. Relationships transformed. As your internal coherence grows, the quality of your relationships changes dramatically. Conflicts that once felt inevitable lose their grip. Old patterns of reaction fade because you no longer approach loved ones from fear or defense. Instead, you meet them from a timeline where understanding already exists. You listen with a presence that invites honesty. You speak with clarity that diffuses tension before it can take root. This does not mean you avoid challenge. It means challenge becomes an opening for healing. When someone you care for is in pain, you sense their deeper truth and respond with compassion instead of judgment. Even difficult conversations become easier because you are guided by the future version of you who has already navigated them with grace. Abundance as a state of being. Perhaps the most surprising shift is the way resources and opportunities appear. Money, connections, and support begin to arrive with uncanny timing. Instead of chasing outcomes, you find yourself guided to the right place at the perfect moment. The promotion comes without struggle. The collaborator calls when you are about to reach out. This is not luck. It is timeline coordination, your future self aligning events so that what you need flows towards you effortlessly. The deeper truth is that abundance is not something you earn. It is something you allow. When you stop believing in scarcity and live as a multi-temporal being, the field responds by matching your inner state with outer experience. Living the expansion. To sustain this natural expansion, keep returning to the simple practices of presence. Mindful breathing, gratitude and compassionate attention. Notice how quickly life reorganizes when you remain centered. Creative projects finish themselves. Relationships feel like shared awakenings. The body begins to glow with its own quiet intelligence. Take a moment to sense this possibility right now. Imagine a day when ideas flow effortlessly, when your body feels vibrant and light, when every conversation carries understanding instead of tension, when opportunities appear exactly when needed. This is not a distant dream. It is the reality already unfolding as you align with the timeless field of your own being. Close your eyes and let the entire journey settle into your breath. From the first invitation of your future self to the discovery that time is not a chain but a shimmering field, every idea you have encountered has been guiding you back to a single truth. You were never incomplete. You were never late. You were never required to climb a staircase of endless effort. Everything you have ever sought, wisdom, healing, creativity, abundance, already lives within the boundless present. It always has. The self you call future is not a distant light you must chase. It is the luminous core of your own consciousness, standing beside you now, waiting only for recognition. Feel into that recognition. Notice the quiet current running through your chest, the still power beneath each heartbeat. This is not imagination. It is the signal of your multi-temporal being. The healer who has already mended every wound, the creator who has already sung every song, the guide who has already walked every path. From this awareness, life changes without struggle. Decisions unfold like the next breath. Relationships soften into understanding. Opportunities appear with impossible precision, not because you forced them, but because you remembered that all timelines meet here, in the eternal now. This is your moment of declaration. Not a wish, not a hope, a choice. Before you step back into the noise of the world, pause and write these words as a vow to yourself. I merge with my infinite self. Type it as you feel it. Let the letters carry the resonance of your decision into the field of consciousness that connects every version of you. This is not for me. This is a signal across time, a message your future self will recognize instantly. And if the truth in these pages has ignited something you refuse to let fade, take one more sacred action. Subscribe here, now. Not to collect more content, but to remain in coherent resonance with the frequency you have just awakened. Each return strengthens the bridge between the self reading these words and the self who already lives their fullness. Remember, you are not stepping into a future. You are stepping deeper into now. The next breath is the doorway. The next heartbeat is the leap. Write the declaration. Seal the choice. Subscribe to keep the signal alive. The collaboration with your eternal self begins the moment you say yes, and that moment is already here.